So let's see how we can integrate Postback URL or pixel with any affiliate network. So we'll just take an example of Admitad at this just to begin with actually. So the Postback technology is absolutely important when you want to auto import your transactions from your affiliate network into your cashback plugin. So whichever network supports Postback technology, you can actually pretty comfortably use it. And it is a universal technology, unlike APIs. So for when you're using API to pull back the transactions, it's different for each affiliate network. However, Postback is more universal, and it should work with almost any network which claims to have that technology. So what I've done is I will just open cashback in my WordPress, ClipMyDeals theme, and go to Postback. And in another window, I have opened Admitad Postback URL page, which you can see in Tools and go with Postback URL. So we'll just start off our configuration. We'll select a store first, for which we want to pull the transactions into our system. There's also something called as global pixel, but we see that at a later stage. I'll first show you how you can pull transactions for a single store. It will ask you for a sub ID variable. So you'll get your variable list in any network Postback URL page. In Admitad, we have the list given right at the bottom of this page. So for sub ID, it has 3 square brackets, sub ID. Then you have transaction ID variable. Transaction ID is a unique ID for each transaction. It just cannot get repeated. So it may be known by different names in different affiliate networks. In Admitad, it is called order ID. So more than the names, we have to look at the sense of the variables. Then transaction amount. So we have order amount over here. So it is order underscore sum. And then finally transaction date variable in unique timestamp. So we have action time. Transaction date variable is an optional field. If you do not put this field, the ClipMyDeals cashback plugin will automatically record the time of calling of Postback URL as your action time or the transaction time. And if you put a variable over here, it will input the time as called by Admitad. And we just create our Postback URL. Yeah, so we have our Postback URL ready. Now we'll just try and configure it in Admitad. So it asks for event type. Each transaction in Admitad is known as action. So we'll keep it to action because we want to import transactions to our cashback plugin. Ad space, I'll just select my appropriate ad space, which I've created for demo purpose. In programs, because we are making a pixel for Postback pixel for Agoda, we'll search for Agoda. Rate, we'll select a default rate which we have to import. If you are if you don't know which rate you have to import, you can always speak to your account manager at the affiliate network. In HTTP method, we'll keep it to post. There's a very slight difference between how get works and post works. So post is an easier option, so we'll just keep it to post. We'll import transactions with all kinds of status, and even if it is declined, we'll try and import it, because we like to show our users that the transaction was done but it was declined for some reason. So we play around with status of the transaction within the plugin and not filter it at the affiliate network end. We copy our Postback URL and put it in the links section. Then we have the edit mode. We'll keep it to advanced because we want to have custom parameter names. So now we'll try and configure our parameters with Admitad's parameters. So within the URL, you can see that this is a very constant part. Store equal to 8 refers to Agora in my demo, and then you have custom variable parameters. So we just take it one by one. My parameter user refers to sub ID on Admitad. Similarly, my merchant transaction ID refers to order ID on Admitad. Then my transaction amount refers to the order amount. And then finally, transaction date refers to time. So here we go. We have completed all our settings for Postback URL, and just try and save and test it from here on. So this is the test URL which Admitad has generated with the test variables. So it has generated for user equal to test sub ID with a merchant transaction ID with lots of 9s and a transaction amount of 999. But we must note that test sub ID, there's absolutely no user on my website which this ID test underscore sub ID. So this URL will most likely give me an error. So let's see. When I click on test, it tells me an error occurred during the request. Check the address. So to do a proper testing, we'll have to change user equal to test underscore sub ID, and to do that we'll have to shift our postback method from post to get. Now note that I'm doing this only to demonstrate. In the real world you can actually simply save it, and the user equal to a proper ID would be passing, so you need not worry about it. But now I'll just cancel it and change the HTTP method to get and retest it, and I'll change this ID to an ID which exists on my website, so something called as user equal to 1, and then test again. This time the request has been successful, so a transaction with these details should appear on my cashback plugin. So here's my cashback plugin. I'll just refresh it and scroll down in the transaction section, and here's my transaction. It has come with all the appropriate details because I had kept auto approval to off. It is still pending verification, and once I approve it, it will also start showing to the users. In fact, it will still show the users, but it will show as a pending verification. So this is working for us, and we'll just cancel it and save it, and we are all done.